So just as I was about to wrap up today, Brix released the beta version of 2.4, and that brings quite a lot of very nice new features. The headline one is going to be the AI MCP connection setup, but there are various other really interesting and useful quality of life and cool new features added in. Now, I'm not going to cover those in this video. We're going to focus primarily on a first look at how to set up the AI and just get started with it. I will create a much deeper dive video into the MCP connection using with AI, and also taking a look at how it compares to Novamira, another really solid MCP based tool that allows us to connect up and use skills based upon Brix to get much better results. So keep an eye out for that. If you want to be notified when that's released, be sure to go down and hit the subscribe button. So the other video I'll release probably tomorrow is going to cover those other features that have been released in Brix 2.4 beta. So keep an eye out for that one as well. So let's jump in now and take a look at how we can connect things up to the MCP server inside Brix. This is not going to be a deep dive. This is literally just a first look and showing you how to set it up. And we'll take a very brief run through. So from inside your WordPress dashboard, come over to Brix and you'll see there's the new AI option. Now, obviously, this is a beta release, so do not use this on a live site. If you want to download it and test it for yourself, you absolutely can do. Log into your Brix dashboard, and inside there, you'll see a big section at the top that says download the beta. Only do this on a test site, not on a live site. Okay, so let's open up the AI section. And this now goes through and allows us to grab all the details that we need and set everything up to connect it to our AI tool of choice. In my example, we're going to use Codex, but you have lots of options available. So let's see how this works. First of all, let's just enable the Brix abilities. And then underneath, we've got the Connect AI client to MCP. So what we're going to do, first of all, is we're going to set everything up from here. We're going to give it a name, generate a password. Now, please do bear in mind, all of this will be wiped out, so you won't be able to log into my account. Generate a password, and that now gives us the password, but also gives us the connection string that we need to add in to our AI tool. So let's copy this. Let's head over into Codex, and from here, let's paste this in. So once we've done that, we're going to say, go ahead and do what we need you to do. So this will go through, take a few minutes to go and connect everything up. It generally takes a little bit of time, but once it's set up, then you should be able to access this however you want. While we're waiting for that to go ahead and do what it needs to do, let's jump back into Brix and take a little look underneath. So you can see this wants us to pull the details in. Once it's finished, test the connection. As you can see, everything else has passed inside here. So we'll save those settings, and we're going to go over to skills. And inside skills, we've got a prompt, which we're going to copy in, and then we're going to just have a check prompt afterwards. So once the connection is all set up, we'll do this. But before we do, let's jump into abilities. And this is where you can choose what abilities this particular MCP has access to. So you may find that you want to enable some features, disable other features, depending upon how open you want to be to working with an MCP connected up to your site. As you can see, things are broken down on the left-hand side. Currently, and by default, pretty much everything is enabled. Not everything. You can see, for example, permissions is not enabled. So Brix list builder permissions, upset builder compatibility, and so on, or capability. So if you want to add those in, you absolutely can do, but pretty much everything else is enabled. So things like breakpoints, CMS control, content control, design controls, and so on. If you make changes, hit save settings, and you are sorted. We'll leave everything as it is as the standard setup. Hop back over to skills while we wait for the connection to connect up and confirm. Then we'll move on to this stage. Okay, that took just over a minute. So let's ask it to confirm. There we go. After a couple of minutes, it's now confirmed that the connection is all set up and working. So now we go back to Brix into the skills section. We'll copy the skills prompt, go and paste that in. This is going to tell you to go and grab those skills from GitHub. So again, we'll just let that go ahead and do what it needs to do. Again, this will take a few moments to complete. Then we'll just double check to make sure everything is connected up, working okay. There we go. That's now completed after a minute. Let's confirm that. And to do that, we're simply going to come over here and say copy verification prompt, paste that in, ask you to go ahead and just wait a few moments for it to check. There you go. That's now confirmed and that's installed on all of the different options that we have as part of that skill. 44 currently. We are now connected. Everything connects up to our AI, our MCP, and is connected inside Brix. So we're now ready to go and start well, doing whatever we want to do. Now, like I say, I'm literally going to do it something really simple here just to show that it actually connects up and works, but I am going to release a much deeper video once I've had a chance to play about with it a lot more, see what it's good at, see where the kind of maybe the weak spots are, and do a comparison and maybe a side-by-side between Novamira doing the same task as this and seeing which one actually stacks up better or worse, or if they're exactly the same. So I've created a blank Brix MCP page, just a page called Brix MCP. We're now going to get the AI to check that that exists, and we'll start using Brix to do some basic things there. So we're just going to ask it to go and check that page exists and use that page for the following commands. So as you can see, it tells us this exposes a Brix find post ability, which is one of the post abilities or the skills that we have as part of the MCP. So I'll go through now and just confirm whatever it needs until we get the final end result. And there we go. It's now found that page. You can see it tells us the post ID, the title, the slug and the path, whether it's published, whether it's Brix enabled, and whether it has any Brix data and the actual URL to access the builder. So I'm going to use a screen grab. So I just paste that in here a second. And this is basically just a wireframe layout for a hero section. So we're going to use that as the basis. Let me just go and tell it exactly what I wanted to do. Now, obviously, I wanted to use any CSS classes, variables, etc., that are already created as part of this site. So we're going to tell it to do that as part of the initial prompt. And again, you can, with all these things, tell it to always use the CSS variables and so on, as opposed to having to keep on saying it every single time. Then inside the conversation, it remembers that information. Okay, I've been quite vague here. I said, like, use the attached image, create a new hero section for the Brix MCP page, duplicate the design, ensure it's responsive across all breakpoints. Now, in my testing very, very briefly earlier on, you can ask it to do accessible, sort of making it accessible, things like that, and it does go through and do those things. But for brevity, I want to just keep this really simple. Like I say, I'll cover these things in more detail later in a dedicated video. But for now, let's see what it does. This will probably take a few minutes anyway, so let's just see what happens. We'll ask it to go and confirm and go and do what it needs to do. I'll probably have a couple of prompts to confirm here, and once that's gone through, we'll take a look at the end result and how it's actually set everything up and see if a couple of common things that you see very often when using AI tools connected to something like Brix, Elementor, and so on, it has certain quirks. Let's see if it actually does those or not. Now, one of the things I made sure I didn't do here was tell it to specifically use Brix elements. I'm more interested to see if it'll do that based upon the skills that have been added as part of the Brix MCP. There we go. It has now finished. Let's take a little look how long that actually took, and then we'll take a look at the results. So that took nearly 13 minutes to create a hero section. So the question you have to ask yourself is, could I have created it quicker myself? Now let's check that it actually worked the way it should do. So here's our pages. Let's come in and edit this with Brix, and there's our layout. So it looks pretty faithful to what we set up to start off with. The structure down the right-hand side is using native elements that are part of Brix. And if we come into section, for example, you can see it's created a class for this. So everything is done via BEM naming, which is pretty cool to see. And if we take a look, for example, under the style section here, our layout, typography, using our color palette. We come to CSS. Now, this is one of those areas that seems to be a case that it always seems to do, which is it'll pull some of what could be applied just using the visual editor into custom CSS, like the background using the variable of white, which in this example is the variable I've got for my white color. But there's no need for that. It could literally just come in and just set that inside the background color area and just set it inside here to white. But let's come into something like, I don't know, let's take a look at this div here. So this is where the two images are. So we'll click on this div and you can see there's our hero thumb. If we come into our layout, aspect ratio and everything is set inside here. The overflow is set inside here. If we come out of here and we go into border and background, come to our borders, you can see it is using our variables that are part of the CSS variables we've set up and configured. If we minimize this, you can see there's your radius and it's using the relevant radius from there. So that's good to see it is using that information. Same again with the CSS, you can see it's set the background color inside here. It seems to want to do with the MCP server here in Brix, always seems to want to put the background color inside the custom CSS. Don't know why, but everything looks pretty good. What's it going to look like on? Yep, looking, yep, all responsive, is all set up. Looking pretty good. Admittedly, I would probably put the buttons side by side, but you know, these are little tweaks you can adjust. And I would probably put them to either full width or side by side on there as well. But, you know, this is getting you 85% of the way there, maybe a little bit closer than that. But it's good to see that it's using classes. It's applying classes if you've already got ones created. It's using BEM naming. It's using the variables that you've got as part of your setup, and it's creating it based upon what you specified. So all in all, it is doing a pretty decent job. Like I say, it is still a beta version, so I'm sure there's room for improvement here. It is referencing the skills. It is doing what we needed to do. And hopefully we'll see this improve. The only downside, and this is probably more to do with the AI tool that you're using, is how long it takes. I got to pull this design in using something like Brixies, which is where I got the design idea from. That would have taken me 30 seconds, imported it in, changed the images, make sure that everything is set up to use the CSS framework that I'm using, and all those kinds of things, and we'd have been up and running in probably half the time. This is where I think we have to be realistic about how we use AI. Do we use it as a design tool alongside something like Bricks? Or do we use it to do the more heavy lifting? Custom queries, more advanced queries, applying filters, you know, creating ACF-based sort of data structures. And this is actually trained to be able to work with ACF. I haven't done it here, but we will take a look at in that more detailed video. So I would say that's where the strength of using an MCP like this alongside Codex, Claude, whatever, and just keep the design to using a good solid template library like Brixies. I think you're going to get a much better user experience and a much faster, less token extensive kind of sort of workflow. But as always, I pass it over to you. What are your thoughts? Are you going to start testing this out yourself on your own, not live sites, so you can make sure that everything works the way you want, or you're going to wait until the final version comes out and take it for a run? And if you're a Novamira user, would you stop using Novamira Pro if you have the Pro version in favor of using the native functions in Bricks itself? Novamira does bring with it a lot of extra facilities and tools and options and a more broad range of skills, so you can do more with it. Let me know what your thoughts are down in the comment section down below. As always, all applicable links will be in the description. My name is Paul C. This is WPTuts, and until next time, take care.